and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney, or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it. Legends. I'm in the same shirt, same day, as the last video. Today I have for you a couple things. It's kind of a big thing, but it also doesn't come across that big in the EU. But I guess it's supposed to be? I don't know. I'm sure that Disney Canon has written some stuff for it, and I'm even willing. See, I'm not a purist. I mean, I'm only going to read the EU, but I'm not a purist. I'm willing to bet that the EU has done a better job with this particular storyline, or not the EU, with the Disney EU, than the EU has, but we'll see. I mean, I'm never going to find out, but you can let me know in the comments. Anyway, but you can tell by the title of this video. Starting, though, with Star Wars Tales number 3, Lady Luck. A story with Lando. And it shows us how he gets to be in control of Cloud City, which is actually pretty cool. And that's really all to say about it. It's fun, though. Star Wars, The Early Adventures, specifically issue 6. Why I decided to place it here, I don't know. I saw it somewhere else on timeline, so I included it here. But some scientist father of Kessel has a thing that can affect the weather atmosphere of a planet, and he's going to use it for good, and then the Empire's like, you got to use it for bad, and then he's like, oh frick, and then they kidnap his daughter, and then his daughter meets up with our heroes, and then I don't really care for it. Don't like the art, don't like the story. Yeah, but it exists. It'd be around here. The big one, Vader's Quest, issues 1 to 4. So, back in the day, we didn't know how canon the old Marvel comics were. Marvel Comics had already treaded this ground. But, since they were iffy on the canonicity, they made their own separate story. Is this kind of a contradiction? Yeah, but there are ways to work around it, because there's different stories that kind of talk about this, but, you know, Vader gets the name here. However, he'd probably want to try to reconfirm it. So he does try to get Luke in this story. It would make sense that he would send a bunch of people out to find the same information, to just, like, verify that it's true. And, of course, kill anybody that brings in the information. Because if it's true that Luke Skywalker is a thing, doesn't want the Emperor to know about it. Of course we know the Emperor. But yeah, we followed this Rogue Squadron pilot who's pissed off that Luke's getting all the glory, and he gets all pissy. That's like kind of like the backstory. Vader gets a hold of him, gets the information out. The guy redeems himself by killing himself by doing something cool to let Luke escape. It's fine. These 4 issues were just kind of weird. Like, I don't get it's just, when you're talking about the story of how Vader found out Luke's name, it just feels like it should be bigger than it is. And it's kind of just silly, feels like. I mean, I do like that Vader's killing everybody that knows it. And I do like that the Emperor already knows. Other than that, I don't know. These comics are just kind of weird. You got, like, the cat people and all this, and stuff going on with them, and then you got this weird, like, Aladdin Arabia thing going on, and it's just weird. It's okay. Not exactly the story I was expecting when you hear how Vader found out about Luke's name, but I love the EU, but I'll be honest when I say that things just aren't that good, and Vader's Quest is not that good. Jumping over to Marvel, issues 35 to 37, we have the Marvel version of this. But again, he's probably trying to confirm it, so he kept finding people that might know the name, once he heard Skywalker again and again, repeat and repeat, he gets more and more sure that that absolutely is the case. And Vader pulls this whole scheme with Baron Tag, and it's silly. It's the old Marvel comics, so he plans this whole thing with Tag's sister, and I don't like that the Vader and Luke fight, and that Luke even seems to be doing a pretty decent job considering Episode 5 hasn't even come out yet, and you know, it's fine a couple times here and there, but when he's I don't know, they're fine. The issues are fine. I like the Marvel comics. It's just, again, for a story that's supposed to be Vader finding out the name, I don't really. It's not really vibing, I don't. I don't feel that. I feel like I should. So it is what it is. That's basically it. Starting with Devil Worlds, issue 2 by Alan Moore. There are 3 stories in here. I forgot to mention, this should have gone before issue 35 of the Marvel Comics are about there, because you can kind of use this to explain why Leia's leg hurts in one of the Marvel comics, because it was never actually explained. If you want to, but we'll get into it. The first story is on this junk heap planet, and C-3PO and R2-D2 are put there, thrown with the trash, because Luke needs them there for some reason. There is a priest droid talking about their god. The Empire shows up, and the entire planet destroys them. I don't know. The next one, Han and Leia are doing stuff. And Chewie. I don't know where Luke is at this time. And there is this triangle interdimensional spacecraft that can teleport you to another dimension or something. And when Han and Leia get there, there are these religious cult members who seem to have some weird, bizarre powers and want to hurt them. And of course, Han, Leia, and Chewie get away. It gets worse. Then we move on to the final story, and you have these godlike entities doing a bunch of weird stuff, and Leia and the Empire happens to come upon it. And by the end of the story, Leia's fine. She just left where she began. But the stormtroopers are sent 8,000 years into the past. And so, in the beginning of the issue, when she sees a bunch of dead stormtrooper bodies, she's confused. But now she understands that those were the same Empire people that were pursuing her, only they were sent 8,000 years in the past, and I guess never tried to move off the same spot they were at, and died so that she would see that in this comic. Devil Worlds. I don't know what Alan Moore was smoking, but I want some of it. Because this is balls out insane. All 3 of them. The most tame one was the droid's one. But even then, you have this droid talking about his god and all this, and it's just what am I reading? Not to mention the atmosphere that this gives off. I don't know if this is on purpose, but each story felt like the atmosphere was I don't know, it felt forbidden. I started reading and I was like, should I be here? It just felt so weird, and I don't know how to describe how bizarre these stories are. Are they canon? I don't know. I think they are, because they don't necessarily contradict anything. They're just insane. And so, we gotta wait for Joe Bongiorno's story of supernatural encounters to come out, because I definitely need an explanation to this. But it is one of the weirdest parts of the expanding universe. And when I say Alan Moore, I do in fact mean the Alan Moore, author of The Killing Joke and many other famous comics. That Alan Moore. But I don't know what is up with these. Now, do I recommend these? Absolutely not. At least not first. If you want to get into the EU, skip these stories. Read something else first. Then come on down when you've read a good portion of it and you're just like, I want to see this weird comic. This is the one for you. It's so freaking bizarre. But, moving on. We have Star Wars, The Early Adventures. I did in the last video talk about issue 6. Now I'm just going to review the rest of it. The first 3 or 4 issues, I forget, focus on a very important villain for down the line when we get to Shadows of Mindor. The villain Black Hole. This transparent, translucent villain who commands, guess what? Dark troopers. Yes, before Dark Forces. He's an okay bad guy. We don't really see that much of him to get a very good impression of the guy. I don't know if he pops up in other comics or what. I just know that he's the main bad guy of Shadows of Mindor because Matthew Stover pulled from the old comics. And maybe he's a really good villain there. Here, he's just kind of there. He's doing Vader's bidding. I think in some sources it does say that he's one of the Emperor's hands. So that's interesting. He's a part of Imperial intelligence. And he's a decent bad guy that for these comics, Han, Luke, and Leia have to avoid. Actually, I don't even know if Han is in those. So never mind on that. What was issue 5? Oh, sorry, issue 4. Tatooine. Because they need to go back to Tatooine again. And Luke beats up some Tusken Raiders. And it's like poetry, it rhymes. Because it kind of gave me episode 2 vibes, except that Luke is not evil. Moving forward. Issue 5. Lady Tarkin. Yeah. So Leia gets sent on this mission. She crash lands on this place where the Empire is having slaves and stuff use the moss on the planet to make ammo for their weapons. Like, what? But that's what they're doing. And we learn about Lady Tarkin. Tarkin's wife, which never heard about her ever, but she's here, I guess. And yeah, it's an okay one. Issue 7, because of course I reviewed 6 in the last one. Hitler Lizard. So there's a lizard, one of the few alien and probably first alien on the Empire side. Like, in the EU, it's very clear that Palpatine is kind of speciesist, does not care for aliens, tends to view humans as superior. But this is one of the few, and this is early. This is, like the 70s or 80s. Early look at the Empire does accept aliens if they are justifiably worthy. Of course, we don't know about Thrawn, but this is some lizard dude who works for the Empire. That's kind of neat. And it's just like little black stubbles here, which kind of look like Hitler's mustache, which is why I say that. But it's fine. It's a decent little thing. Issue 8, neutrality. Which, is okay. It deals with a planet that is neutral in the war, is giving stuff to the rebellion, and is giving stuff to the Empire. And Luke's like, you gotta stop doing that. You gotta join the rebellion. Whereas Vader's like, well, you're giving stuff to the rebellion, time to kill all of you. Very different ways of viewing that. But what I do think is that the prequels handle that sort of concept much better. So there's a point for the prequels, baby. Uh, it's very basic here, and they've gone harder with it in the prequels. So even in Filoni's Clone Wars. So there's a whole episode dedicated to the whole neutrality thing, not getting involved. So anyway, yeah, it's fine. Also, I don't know if this is issue 9 or just later in issue 8, but Boba Fett. I think the first time that Boba Fett appeared in a comic, I could be wrong about that, but Boba Fett's on a mission to do something. Our heroes stop him. He gets away. The end. I don't think it contradicts anything, because the characters don't act as if they don't know who Boba Fett is in episode 5. They just never really address that. So there is that, but it's okay. And then lastly, Marvel Annual. We deal with the Skywalkers. Not the Skywalkers, you silly Luke and Anakin. No, I'm talking about the winged people. When's the last time we heard about them? Oh, that's right. In this short story by Abel G. Pena, which was meant to fix this. Because this kind of gives the backstory with Obi-Wan and his 2 apprentices, because Darth Vader, Luke's father, until he found out that Luke's father is also Darth Vader. But we didn't know that till episode 5, and neither did the writers of this comic. So this was trying to explain, I guess, that the 2 apprentices of Obi-Wan were on a mission. So and I reviewed this all the way back, months back, when I reviewed the Clone Wars. But Abel G. Pena basically made it so a lot of people were dying during the Clone Wars, and temporarily Obi-Wan took on a secondary apprentice. And this is before Anakin was knighted. So they go to the same planet, and we have this new guy that we learn about in this book, or in this short story, and Anakin going on adventures on there with Obi-Wan. And so it fixes Obi-Wan's 2 apprentices story that we get introduced to here. We also learn a little bit more about Han. I'm kind of surprised A.C. Crispin did not include something about this in the Han Solo trilogy she made, unless I just missed it, because he apparently went on this planet before episode 4, and the winged people have been trying to beat him up ever since, I guess. And he's been terrified of them, but we never heard about them. That being said, they're really cool people. The concept of them is really interesting, and I enjoyed it. Also, strong female character, and this is like, what, the 70s or 80s? Not to mention Leia has been a strong female character throughout all of these Marvel comics. People talking about like there was no strong females in the past. Leia's been awesome several occasions. But here we have a woman, strong in the Force, winged lady, and her and Luke Skywalker have to duke it out with lightsabers in the sky. So that's actually pretty fun. I have to say, this is one of my favorite things from Marvel. I really enjoyed this whole issue. Is it perfect? No, but it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. So that's basically it, guys. Up next, I have one comic, and then Rebel Force by Alex Wheeler, who might be secretly ghostwrited actually by Jude Watson, and I'll explain why in the next video. But until then, guys, may the Force be with you.